Recording. Okay, so when you open up Rhino, I'm going to go over just how to get some drawings out of a model using the layout tool. I don't typically use the layout tool. I usually just go into Illustrator, but if you don't have access to Illustrator, or if for whatever reason you just prefer doing it this way, this should also work. So on here I have this drawing, but where is that? That's kind of far away from everything. I'm thinking that the units on this are probably wrong. So I'm going to type in units, change it to feet in inches. I'm going to increase the precision a little bit and hit OK. And I want a scaled model, yes. Okay, so I'm going to select this, and I want to move it to 0, 0, 0, just so it's more on the origin. So I'm going to move this corner to 0, 0, 0, enter. Then I'm going to zoom selected in all of my views. Okay, great. So, and I'm going to change this to ghosted just so we can see what we're looking at. So right now, things are on wacky layers. I'm just going to move everything to one layer. So I'm going to select everything, go over here and hit change object layer. So it's on one layer. I'm going to type in purge. That'll get rid of any layers I'm not using. I also don't want any extra curves, so I'm going to say select curve, and I don't have any. Great. Okay. The Rhino layout tool is kind of set up that you could have a view that has one of each of these. My issue with that is that, like, this isn't a real section. This isn't a real plan. This isn't a real elevation. It's just showing you like all the lines it could possibly show. So I think you still need to go through and set up these drawings individually, even if you're then going to go and use the layout tool to print things out, have them to scale, all of that. So with that said, I'm going to make a few different views of this. So to start out with, I want a front elevation. So I'm going to select this and type in make 2D. I'm doing the view. I'm actually not going to show hidden lines in this one. I'm just going to leave it like that and hit OK. Okay, and so that's over here. I'm going to move it over to the side so it's out of the way a little bit. What is that thing? One clipping plane. Oh, the clipping plane's in here. Okay, we're going to delete that for now. I'll explain that later. Okay, so this is my first elevation drawing. You'll notice that I have some walls beyond. I don't want to show those. I'm just going to imagine that I'm going to add more detail into here. So while this might be what my model spits out, because I have a very simple model, I know that really there's a lot more detail I could add into this elevation. I'm going to go ahead and change some things. So I'm going to make a new layer and call this heavy. Next layer is going to be medium. Next layer is going to be light. Next layer is going to be dotted. I'm going to drag this out here. And you'll notice that these have different colors and they also have different line types and widths. Just visually, so I can see what's happening, I'm going to change my medium to a dark gray. I'm going to change my light to a gray. And I might need to make my background a little bit lighter. Let's see if I draw a line in the light, if we can see it, or if I need to. Oh, we can see that. It's lighter than the background. What if I draw a line with this? Can we see it? You can still see it. It's just a little bit hard to see. I might lighten up my background a tiny bit. So to do that, you go to File, Properties, I think. And then we're looking for colors, which I think is under Display. So let's see. Appearance, and then background. Perhaps the background is white, which is basically what we're looking at already. Hover color, text color. There we go. So this background color, I'm going to make it lighter and more of a blue and hit OK. It's personal preference what you want to make these. I'm just making that so I can see my drawing a little bit more easily. A tiny bit lighter. Okay. Okay, so now if I were to change these to this layer, change object layer, I can just see them a little bit better in my eye. I'm going to change the dotted lines also to light gray. Is it okay? Okay, and I'm going to, the first thing, I'm going to change all of these over to my light lines. So I'm going to right click on here, change object layer. Then I'm going to go through and decide like, okay, what's actually on each of these layers. So for an elevation, the only heavy line I think I want is my bottom line. So I'm going to make a new line while on the heavy layer that's going to come over here and it's going to come straight across. I'm going to trim off this bottom floor. I don't need that. Okay, this outside I want to make medium. So I'm going to select all of those lines and change them to my medium layer, change object layer. And then actually, I almost want one more layer. So I think this is a lot to have all in the light layer. But let's leave that for right now and it'll be fine. So let's say I actually know what my windows look like. So my windows are just like double, like the double sashed windows. So I'm going to offset. So first I'm going to join all these. Join. I'm going to offset each of these to give them a little bit of a window frame. So I'm going to type in offset. And I know that they're going to be like a 4-inch frame. So it's a pretty thick frame. I'm offsetting them. And then I also want to give them the sash in the middle. So I'm going to copy this down, maybe 2 inches. And I'm going to copy that to each of my windows. So I'm just adding a little bit more information to elevation. I want these all to be light lines. I'm going to select them, change them over to here. Okay. Oops, I didn't do this one at all. So I can select all that, undo that, copy that over to here. Okay. My door also needs more information than that. So my door has one of those little like lights over the top of it. I could put that in if I choose to. So I could do a little line here. And then move that up 1 inch, 2 inches. And then I could make a circle from the center here out to here. I could trim that circle so that I have that frame. And then let's say I'm going to have the frames outside of this. So I'm going to do offset 2 inches. And I'm going to offset this, offset that. Okay, so I have those lines in there. And I want a doorknob. So we'll have the doorknob just be a circle. And let's say it's over here. And that should be, I think, a 34. So I'm going to move that up to 34 inches. Okay, so here I have my door. And I should add in like a little bit more information in this because right now I can't tell that this is, this has mullions and stuff in it. So I'm going to make a line here, select that line. Oops. I want just that one. Okay, I'm going to divide this by 3. That'll allow me to get a line equally spaced up for each of those. And I'm going to offset this 1 inch to each side. And delete the middle. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this extra line that I had there. That looks super wacky, but I'm just going to go with it. Okay, so here's my elevation. I actually have more lines up here too, but I think at my house there's like a second line here that's maybe 6 inches down, and maybe another 1 foot down. I think that's all that's on there. It's not super fancy. Okay, so this is a slightly more informed elevation than I originally had. I think I am going to make one more layer of line just so I can distinguish the details here from the outer limits of things. So I'm going to change this to medium 1, and I'm going to make a second layer called medium 2. And I'm going to move this up so that I remember that it's almost as heavy as the heavy. And maybe I'll just make it a tiny bit lighter than the heavy, so it looks like that. And on medium 2, I'm going to move all of these sorry, on medium 2, I'm going to change the outside of this. Will be on medium 2. Change object layer. And then on medium 1, I'm going to do the very outsides of these. Change it all to medium 1. And everything else is more like something that's pretty flat, so I'm going to leave that. Okay, so this is now my elevation that I have. So I would go through and I would do all my different drawings this way. So for example, if I were to get a plan over here, one way to get a plan out of this is to do a make 2D of it after it's been cut with a clipping plane. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go into my, I'm going to make a copy of this. So let's say this is my nice pristine model. I'm going to copy it for every time I want to make something different. So I'm going to copy it to make a section, copy it to make a plan. Okay, those are the two things I'm going to focus on. So this is my plan copy. And I'm going to move them apart from each other just so they don't get in the way of each other. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So, excuse me, over here on, and actually, I don't think I've ever made a clipping plane in plans. Let's see if this actually works that way. So I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to type in clipping plane. And it's asking me for the first corner of my rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle here for my clipping plane. And if I look in this view, I can see where my clipping plane is, and I can move it down. Notice that it's not clipping in the perspective view. I can see it, but it's only clipping, oh, I just moved the wrong way. It's only clipping things in this view. So right now, can you see how like this is solid, and I really should have made this on its own layer. So I'm gonna do this over. So delete, new layer, call this clipping plane. I'm doing this so that you can see the color. So if I change this color to red and hit OK, I'll move this down. So if I double click on here, I can type in clipping plane again. And it's only gonna actually clip in the view I draw it in, so make sure you're drawing in the right view. So you'll notice that this is all the way at the bottom, so it's just clipping the very bottom. As I move it up, can you see in plan that it's starting to clip other things? So I'm clipping through the second stair, I'm clipping through some doors here. I know that I want it to be, and let's see if it'll show up in this view. Yep, I want it to be 4 foot up. So if I bring this down, let's say that's 7 inches. So I know each of those is 7 inches, so 2 of those is like 1.5 feet. So let's say this is about my 4 foot mark. So this is the view I want now to get my plan out of that I'm going to be editing. I'm going to bring it up just a tiny bit more. Okay. So if I select this in this view, and I can actually hide my clipping plane, it will still keep that plane. Notice that right now it's clipping everything else too at that height. So that's annoying. It is what it is. So I think, how could I undo that for top view? Because I know how to do it for section. I might just have to delete it once I'm done making my 2D drawing. So over here, I'm going to select this, go to this view. Let's see if this works. So if I type in make 2D, current view, I want to show my hidden lines in this one maybe. I'm just curious if it's going to be an issue. No, I'm not going to show my hidden lines. Okay. Top view, okay. So now that it's made this, let's see what it actually got. Did I get all my walls? And I got my windows. Good, okay. So I'm going to move this over by my elevation over here. And I'm going to set them up so that they're already lined up to each other just to make my life easier. Move this down. Okay. So in top view, I know that I want almost all this should be a heavy line. So I'll change all these, change object layer to heavy. I'm going to make my stairs medium 1, change object layer. My windows here, I'm going to highlight. And I'm going to change those to light. And then I'm also going to add in a line in the middle that's light, and this is going to be my my glass line. So I can do that over here, over here. I'm going to offset it. 2 inches. If I wanted to get fancy, I could add in like the sashes on the side, so you could add in the profile of that over here. So I could add in like whatever this profile is that holds the glass. And I am just guesstimating right now. In real life, I would take time and figure out what this window is really going to look like. So I can mirror this to the other side. And then I can trim out where that glass is. This piece I'm actually cutting through, so I'm going to change that to medium 2, change object layer. Maybe I have to escape out first. Okay, then I can change object layer. I'm going to copy this to all my windows. Depending how big your project is, you might want to make blocks and things like that. My project is not that big, so I'm not bothering to do all that. I should have copied the glass while I was at it, but I didn't, so I'm going to do that now. Copy to there, and there. I should also see my door swings here, so I'm going to type in circle. And I'm still in light, which is good. So my door was swinging, the knob was here, so I'm guessing it's swinging out this way. I'm come here. I'm going to draw on my actual door on the medium layer. Have this come to, it should be 3 feet. Yep, and then offset this 2 inches. I'm going to trim the circle here and here. Trim, click the part you don't want, and then I want to finish off this line connecting to that line. Join those. And I can add the line here to join that together too. Okay, these 2 lines in here should be light, change object layer. That's just my threshold. I could even delete those really if there is no threshold, but I'm assuming since I'm going from outside to inside, there is a threshold. I'm going to copy this, delete this because I know they're the same size, and copy. Actually, I think I mirror it. Let's try mirroring it. If I go, say here, up way too high. I'm just going to copy it. From here over to here. And then I want this door to open out, so I'm going to mirror it and copy no. I want to delete that, and there we go. Okay. So now I have these things in here. I could also at this point add in furniture, right? So I could come onto here and I could either import some from online or not. There's all sorts of stuff I can start adding into here, and I would probably do that all in light line. So let's say I'm going to put in the dining room table. So polyline, I don't know how big the table is. It's actually an oval. Let's just pretend it is 42 inches by 8 feet, 42 inches. Okay, so I could get this to be in the middle of the room. So I can always use other geometry to help me find the middle of things, right? So like if I have this, I know that this is a midpoint, and I know that that'll be my other midpoint. Okay, so I know that's center of the room. Maybe I want to indicate that there is, this is not like a full opening. There's ceiling above this. It's just a wall opening. It's not like an end of the wall. So I can use a dotted line for that. So I'm going to double click on here and draw in dotted lines, which are these guys. Okay, and I could continue adding information to this. Oh, last thing I definitely do want to add is the cut for the stairs. So I'm going to do that on my medium 1 layer. Like it should be a cut, kind of like this, starting here, going this way. And if you're doing lots of these, just make one and then use it in your whole project. That's probably a little too big, so I'm going to scale 1D this down a little bit. Okay. So the middle of this should have like a little jag in it, like this. And then I can mirror this to the other side. Oops. copy this, move to the other side, move this again. Sometimes you have to like search for that reference point you want. So I'm going to put this to here. Okay, and now I can delete out the middle of this. So trim, get rid of that piece. Okay, so now this is another thing. I don't know if there's a little bit of this line showing. So let's try copying it here. You guys see that? I'd see just the tiniest bit. So I'm going to join this all together. Move this up a tiny bit and then trim off this whole area. Okay, and same thing here, trim the rest of this stair. So the rest of the stair, even though it continues up, I'm not gonna see it in this view. I might actually, like in my house, there's a wall right here, so I would still see the wall continue and I can draw that in here. I think there's actually like this, technically there's stairs that go down, so I would start seeing those over here and I could draw that in. But for right now, I'm just going to leave it like this. So it's not a whole lot of detail, but a little bit of detail added into here. Okay, so now that I have those two, I want to do a section as well. So, or if I want to do my second floor plan, right? So now that I have my first floor plan, I could go back over to here, turn my clipping plane on, select it. I can now move it up to hit my second floor. And I probably want it to I want it to be 4 feet off the ground, so that's too high, so it needs to come down a tiny bit. Okay, so now this is my second floor plan, so I would do a make 2D of this. Okay. And I'm moving that over. I forgot to turn my clipping plane off, which is why it's showing up. I can delete that. And then I would similarly to how I did the first one, and these are not in order right now. You always want the first floor plan to be like under the other one, so I can switch these. So this will come down, and then I'm going to move both of these up. Okay, so same deal would go for this, right? Like I change everything to heavy to start with. And then I'm going to go through and like my windows, I would change my windows over to be light. And I would change the stairs to be medium. I would add in my doors because I think I didn't ever cut these doors out, so I need to put them in this view. So change object layer. So I would go through and add more details to this. I'm not going to do it at the moment. Okay. Just for the sake of time. So this is floor 1, floor 2, elevation view, and now let's say we want a section view. So for my section view, I'm going to find this guy. Okay, so I want to use this guy for my section view. So I'm going to come over to my right view, and I'm going to do another clipping plane. So I'm going to come over my clipping plane layer, clipping plane, and here I'm drawing my rectangle for my clipping plane. And you'll notice that it's all the way over here right now, and so it's totally not even cutting. So if I come over to here, let's say I want to get it right through the middle of my stairs here. So this is the section I'm going to get, which looks pretty good to me. So now I'm going to select this and type in, oh, hide my clipping plane. Don't want to do that. Select this and type in make 2D, current view, and here I'm going to show hidden lines. Why not? Just for some variation. Hit OK. So that'll show up on my top view. And I can bring this over to here. I might want to line up the grounds of these two. So I'm going to move this over. And now on this one, so you'll notice because I did the hidden lines, under Make 2D, I have a few different options. So I turn this off, I turn visible off. Right now I just have my hidden lines. So I'm going to select all those. I'm going to change them to my dotted line layer. Then I'm going to turn my visible lines back on, turn my hidden lines off. I'm going to change all these to my heavy layer. Okay, so now there should be nothing left on Make 2D. Yep, that all disappeared, great. Okay, so then over here, I would actually go through and start deciding like, what am I really cutting through? So I know I'm cutting through the floor here, but I want to be on heavy. I don't want to show the slab underneath for right now. I guess I could. Do I want to do that? I don't know. I guess I could. I don't really know what the foundation of this, like technically it has a basement and this other stuff, but let's pretend it was a building that just had like these ended in foundation walls. So I could do a line here. So I could come down for each of these 3 feet, over like 1 foot, down a foot, and then over 3 feet, up over a foot, and back, undo, and then back up. So I could trim all this so that like these, I don't want that there, Control Z. So then I could kind of start to show that like this is separate from that. Do I want that to go across? You would need to get into like how this is actually built. So like really this line probably comes up a tiny bit. And then this probably trims here. Okay, so I can copy this to the other side. And really anywhere I have like a major wall I want lines, I'm gonna put that one in, pretend that's a structural wall, this is a structural wall. And then this one I similarly want to come up a tiny bit, so I'm gonna draw a line there. Then I'm gonna trim this here. Okay, so that's on the bottom. Those are all my heavy lines. This line back here should be a hidden line. I'm pretty sure it's behind the stairs. I don't know why that's not my hidden layer. I'm gonna change it now. Same thing with this line. I probably missed a step somewhere, did something messed up. So that, oh, I know when I did it. When I didn't lock dotted before I changed dotted, which is why all those are now showing up on the heavy line. Are they all heavy? Oh, so annoying. Yeah, okay. So I can see what layer something's on if I look down here. Okay, so I messed that up. I should have locked dotted before I changed that. But I can go through and I know enough about my model that I should be able to figure out like what is really supposed to be a heavy line versus a medium line. So like I know all these layers really should be on the medium line layer because I can see them. So I'm going to change this all to medium. And right now I see how like this very light line is on top of my medium line, so I can't see it. So there's something called draw order that I think we can get into a little bit later, but it should be somewhere up here. Let's see if I just type in draw order if it comes up. Order, clear draw order. We'll deal with that later, I think. So I think it's under drafting tools. So I'm here and you're like, add detail view, dimensions, order dimension, set line type, print display, cascade. Okay, cascade draw order toolbar. So let's see. So let's bring this, and then this is, I want to send to back, so I'm going to send that to back, and now the other line came forward, so that's how you do that. This line I'm going to change to dotted. Okay, so that's starting to look a little bit better. This line is, like these are out things that I see beyond. So I'm going to change those to light. Same thing for all my windows that are in here. I think I'm actually not even cutting through a window. So I'm going to delete this. But I think I want to cut through it. So I'm going to delete, I'm going to take these long lines and split them by these littler lines. And split. And then my cutting objects are going to be these. Enter. Okay, so now these lines I'm going to change over to light, change object layer. And then in here I can draw things like my door. So if I did a rectangle and I'm on my medium light, which is good, I can draw in my door here. Here I could draw in my window, so I could put in like the frame for my window. Ideally, this would match my other thing, but I'm just going fast, so I'm not worrying about that at the moment. Light, I can put in the glass for my window. I can copy this for all my windows. If these get cut through, these aren't cut through either. So I'm going to select these, split them by this, 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 and this. I'm going to delete that window because we're going to pretend we can't see that. And then these guys all, I'm actually just going to copy in from the other side because it's like exactly the same. So there's no reason to redraw it. So if I select this, and copy them over. Okay. This is starting to get a little bit better. Obviously, it needs a lot more work to define where doors are, where walls are, all of that. This right now has like no definition to it, right? It's just showing like a big black box for the roof. Technically, I'm sure there is a roof beam that I could show in here and I could show the detail for that, and I would add that in. Right, so this is where I'm actually adding information about my section. The last thing I really would like is a line that defines again where the floor is, so we don't forget that. And where I brought that wall up to actually makes no sense, so I need to change that back over. So I'm just going to select this, move it. Same thing with these, I can select this and just drag that down. Trim there. And I can do extend, so I can select this, extend, and I can select extend those curves. Same thing on this side. I'm going to bring that over to there. I'm going to trim this part. Oh, didn't like that, fine. Okay, delete that, trim this one, bring this line across, and then do an extend. So these are all the 2D kinds of things you do to help make your drawing a real drawing rather than just a make 2D of something. Okay, put my nose back down. Did that up one over there too? It did. Okay. This part's going to annoy me though, because this looks really wrong. So this is really a wall cut. I'm thinking that these things are all beyond. So this is really a wall cut. This is really a wall cut. These ones should just be hidden from here on. So I'm going to select those and change those to dotted. Okay. So this should start looking a tiny bit better. And I could obviously add more detail as I had more time. Okay, so these views are now more or less set up to put on my layout. The last thing I want to do is add a 3D section perspective. So my section perspective I'm going to do on, let's say I'll do it on the drawing that I already have the section of. So I'm going to select this, but maybe if the other side. So ZS if you want to zoom in on just that part. And here I'm going to go back to my clipping plane layer. Turn this back on. And I'm really done with this for right now, so I can delete that. I could also just do it on a new one. So maybe I'll do it on like this one. So I'm going to type in clipping plane. And I need to draw in this layer or it won't cut it in 3D. So I'm going to do 3-point. And here I'm going to click here, and then bring it straight across to this side. I'm using my model itself to help me get that plane. Okay. Now I need to move it down a little bit so it cuts the whole thing. And I need to make it a little bit wider, so I'm going to scale it out that way. Okay, so as I move this over, you'll notice that it's disappearing in 3D, which is what I want. So let's say I want to show, honestly, the stairs is still like the best thing to show over here, I think. But let's say I'm going to show this is like a living room and dining room. Let's say I have like something to show in here for whatever reason. Okay, so I'm going to hide the clipping plane again. I made this on the wrong layer, so I'm gonna show here, change object layer. Okay, and now I'm going to hide this. So if I want to, then I want to mess with the render settings on here. So I'm going to change this to rendered. And that's basically what it's going to look like. I'm actually fine with that. So it'll have like these cuts in hot pink, and I could change this color to be a black if I don't want something that's quite that punchy. So it kind of shows like a really simple clay kind of model with the section cut and the perspective here. I can alter what kind of perspective I'm showing. So if I wanted to, I could go to set view and change this to isometric. Before I do that, I want to select something on here to focus on. I wasn't going to have trouble finding it again. So I select that. I can go to set view, isometric, I don't know, southeast? See what happens. No, I don't really, I want to see kind of from below, I think. That's the right corner though, so Z and S. Yeah, I don't love that though, so I'm going to come more up like this. So I could have an isometric view, or I could do a 2-point perspective, so I can go to set view, 2-point perspective, and that'll be more like what your eye would normally see. So you can fool around with like how exactly you want that to look. But maybe for now, I'll just go back to regular perspective. Okay. So now that I have these set up, I'm going to go ahead and make my layout. So layouts, you need to kind of turn them on to begin with. So I'd already turned them on, I'll return them on. So you go to Tools, Toolbar Layout, and then you're going to go to look for Layout, click that one, you want that. And you also want your drafting on if it's not already on. By default, it's on, so it should already be there. And hit OK. Okay, so now that I have this, I can go over to here and I want to add a new layout. So I'm hitting new layout, and here's where you change your page size and everything. So notice here it says millimeters. That makes me suspect that this the layout is not in the type of units I want it to be. So I'm going to cancel a second. Type in properties. Oh, sorry, I need to actually go to properties. So file, properties. And now if I go to units, units over here, notice there's model units and layout units. So my model units are in feet inches, which is good. My layout units are in millimeters, which is not good. I want them to be in the same system, like imperial or metric, as my model unit. So I'm going to change this to inches. It could be inches and feet, that'd be fine. Feet and inches, bring that up. Okay, so now that's fixed, which is good. While I'm here, I also want to change my annotation style. So I want to make sure, normally you're just going to have this default option. I added the template foot architectural. So if I go to annotation styles, I can hit new, and it gives me these ones to select from. I would use the template foot inch architectural to start with, and we can edit it more if we need to. So that's what you're adding when you go to here. Also, you want to make sure that you can enable model space scaling and enable layout space scaling. That way, it'll make your text the right size to be visible in layout view and in model view. Okay. Anything else I want to mess with while I'm here? I think that's it. I'm gonna hit OK. Right. So I now have this little bar here. I'm going to go over to here to say new layout. And you can pick your printer, so Adobe PDF, you can change your name. So I'm going to call this Best, or I don't know, House. And then width, height, whatever your page is. So I set that over here, right? So I did ArcD, it's 24 by 36. You could do letter size, whatever. So it could be on 11 by 17. And then you could do portrait, and that'll flip it for you, or landscape. But let's stick with our ArcD, the 24 by 36 landscape. The initial detail count, I'm actually going to leave that off. I don't really like when it makes the details for me. I like to be able to decide how big things are as I go. So I'm just going to say none and hit OK. Okay, this is my piece of paper. To add views to here, I'm going to go over to this bar and hit Add Detail View. And it's going to ask me for first corner rectangle, second corner rectangle. So I'm going to start out putting in the plan. I want it about that big. So notice right now everything is tiny. If I select it, it tells me this is top view, page 1 top view, layout top. So I can, let's say I'm changing my mind and I want this to be the perspective. I can drag this, so I can make this bigger, and I could click on here. I have to double click, and I can change this to set view and change it to perspective. And then I can zoom into wherever I had. Well, I wanted to select the view that I already had though. So Control Z, let's undo that. Let's see if I can get in the one that I already had. So if I go to New View, Add Detail View. So can I change this here to, okay, so I can go to Active Viewport, I think, and I don't know if it's gonna work. Let's try it. If I do perspective, nope, that doesn't work. Okay, so I can go back to page 1 over here. Detail top. Active viewport. What if I change it down here? I think that's the same thing. I don't think it's gonna work. What do I do that though? Yeah, it's not gonna work. Okay, so I might have to reset my flipping plane and everything, which is a huge pain in the butt. I didn't think I had to do that. Set view, set view plane, active viewport, grid options, set view. All right, I think I do have to do that, which I'm sorry about that. We should redo that, but it's fine. So actually, let's just stick with again making this the plan. So I'm going to navigate over to my 2D plan. This is my top, I want my top floor plan on top, which is this one. So I'm gonna put that one in. And I don't know exactly what size it is right now, right? I'm just kind of scrolling to get it about right. I probably want to click out of here, make this a little bit longer. Okay, so I figure I have about that much space for it. So if I double click on here and then I go over to my properties, it tells me it's parallel, and then right now it's telling me that I have 1 inch is 5 feet in my model. So I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to change here 1 inch. I'm going to make it equal 4 inches in my model. Oh, sorry, escape. Click that again, edit. So first thing, distance on layout. So 1 inch in my layout. It's going to be, now it says distance in model, it's going to be 4 inches in my model. So that's too big, right? It doesn't fit. So the next standard one is 1/8. So I'm going to edit this again. And this time I'm going to say 1 inch on here is 8 feet in my model. So that's pretty small, but maybe that's big enough for my drawing. So the other, I think is 3/16 in between those two. So let's try 3/16. So if I do edit, I could do 3/16 of an inch, and my layout is going to be 1 foot in my model. Yeah, okay, that's in between the two. That's pretty good. So I'm going to keep that. When I do this, double click again, I want to lock it so that I'm not then fussing with the layout. Okay, so now that this is here, I'm going to make another one. So I detail view, right underneath. And this time I'm going to double click, zoom into my top floor plan or my bottom floor plan underneath. Okay, and then same thing over here, properties, change this to edit, 3/16 is going to be 1 foot in my model. Okay. And then I'm going to lock it, and I can still, even if I lock it, whoops, Control Z. Is it still locked? Properties locked. Okay. So I'm going to take this detail view and I'm going to bring it up a little bit, bring this one up a little bit so I can see that piece of it. Okay. These are not lined up right now. To get them lined up, I'm going to just make a line so I can lay them up. So I'm going to do that with I'll make a new guideline layer. I'm going to make it light blue. And I'll just make a line that's coming from here down and copy that over. And these are just going to help me lay out my drawing so that I know that they are aligned. So then I can select this detail view and I can move it over until it's lined up. Okay. Okay, those are still lined up, great. Next thing I'm gonna do is add in my I have a section and perspective, so I'll add in my section and my elevation. So elevation, section, perspective. Okay, elevation's gonna be very similar, right? So I'm zooming into that. It's over here, it probably wants a little bit more width. Properties, edit, 3/16, 1. Does that do it? Okay, I guess I did it. Block it. And I can always check if I move it over here to the right side. Yeah, and it is the right side. Okay. So that one here. I can add another one. So here I'm adding in. And notice that all of these, I'm going to change them so they're all on the same layer because they're not all on the same layer. Like the detail views themselves are on a layer right now. Okay, so I want to add in, actually I could probably just, I think I already lined these up in my other drawing, and since I want them at the same scale, I can just roll that over and now it's already on there, which is kind of nice. So if you line them up ahead of time, that's easy, but let's say I don't want to do that. So for whatever reason, I want my section to be bigger. So I'm going to make a new detail view over here. I'm going to click on here, zoom into my section, and then I'm going to set the scale of the section again under properties. So let's say I want this one to be at 1/2 inch. I don't think it's gonna fit, but we will try. So edit. So I'm gonna say 1 inch on my layout is 2 inches in my model. Oh yeah, it's way too big. Okay, try that again. Edit. So 1 inch on my layout is 4 feet in my model. Okay, so this is a little bit misleading because these are so close that then you're gonna think they're the same scale. But if you were doing a detail or something, that might be useful. So actually, let's redo that. So let's say, change this one. So we're going to say, keep it the same scale as the other ones. So 3/16 is going to be 1 foot in my model. And then here I can, again, bring this in. No reason to keep the box so big. And maybe I do want these to line up. So, whoops. Move it over a tiny bit. Okay. And then let's say I want a detail of, I don't know, something, let's say I'm going to draw a detail of the window so you see that more accurately. So I could make another one on here, and I could zoom into the window. And then I could come over to here, set the scale. So let's say here I want it to be 3 inches is going to be 1 foot. And then I can, oops, I can bring this up. That's probably too big. That's how big my window became. It's pretty large, but it's okay. We'll leave it large. So let's say this is going to fit over here. Great. I don't know why we have a giant window detail. It shows nothing, but you know, you would add more detail into this. Okay. And finally, I want to put a perspective view. So this one we're going to continue flipping the handful, which stinks, but we're doing it. So new detail view. I'm going to double click on here. And up here, I'm going to change to 100, and I'm going to change to set view perspective. I'm going to zoom in on one of these guys, get it to the angle I want it. I'm adding in a clipping plane, so I'm going to go to my clipping plane layer, and I'm just going to add a new one because this one's not applying on this layer. So I'm going to type it in this view. So I'm typing clipping plane, and I know I want it here, here, here. Oops, I didn't do that right. 3 point, here, here. Okay, that looks better here. Then I'm going to select my plane, move it in, and I'm actually from the other side, so that's fine. We'll just rotate it around. Okay, so let's say we want it like this. Great. You want it like that. Okay, and then I can hide my clipping plane. Okay. So now this is everything on my view. It's laid out how I want it, which is great. The last thing I need to do is set my line weights. Before I begin changing line weights, so I'm going to bring this out. You're going to notice over here that there's this little view thing. And I want to say view all layer settings. And then you'll notice the ones in gray are what the layout will do. The one that says like for my model, so print, where it says print width, I like to keep these the same so that I don't get confused. That is the way I do this. So to start out with, I'm going to select everything. And I'm going to click on here and I'm going to change the default to 0.25, and that'll change for everything. Great. Then I want to see things as they're changing. So I'm going to do something called print display, hit enter. And where it says state, I want that to be on. State on, okay, great. So next thing we'll do is the heavy line. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to change my heavy line to 1. And you'll notice that those all bumped up automatically. And one thing like I'll notice is, oh, I totally messed this up. These shouldn't be on the heavy line layer. So I can select I should be able to select in this view. No? I thought I could. Okay, because it's locked, I think it's not letting me select. So I might go back to my top view here. And I want to change, what is going on? Oh, it might have just been because I was in that mode. Let's go back to my layout view and see if I can change it now. Yeah, so I can select these and change them to medium 1, change object layer. Okay, so now, okay, so now you can see that they're light again, which is what we want. Good. Okay, so that should be 1. Are these lines even printing? They look, I can barely see them. Yeah, they're just really light. Okay. Medium 2, I'm going to make 0.5, 0.6. Medium 1, I'm going to make 0.4, 0.35 since that's not an option. Light, I'm going to keep at 0.25. Yeah, I'll keep it at 0.25. Clipping plane, I don't want to show, so that's off. That's good. Guidelines, I'm going to change this to 0.13. Dotted, I'm going to change to 0.13. And the other thing I want to change is my line type. So over here, my dotted line, I want to be a dotted line, or actually I'm going to do a hidden line. Okay. Everything else I want is a continuous line, so I'm just going to leave those. But if you look, now those became dotted, and that's light. Okay, so now these all have some amount of detail on them. Let's say I wanted to add more detail into here. I could add in, I could do a new layer and call this one details. And on my detail layer, let's say this glass, I don't know what it has. It has something really crazy going on with the glass that I want to detail in. It has these amazing zigzag structures. this is not a real thing. I should give you a real thing instead of a fake thing. But okay, how about I just want to add in like the sash and all the window details. So I would actually be going through and drawing in like, okay, this is the window sash, and it has this extra line here, whatever it is that I think is like really important to show that I didn't show originally. Okay, so I added some kind of detail in here that I want to show. So maybe I don't want this detail to show up in here, right? Like that's not useful to me. So on these ones, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to turn off the detail layer. So if I double click on here, I'm going to turn that off. And now that'll go away and I will no longer see that detail. But it's still on over here because I have it on in that view. So that's one way if you want to add more information to your detailed views, how you can do it. You put on a layer that's only visible on that thing. So if I double click on here, you'll notice that like under the shaded area, it's on. If I were to turn that off, it goes away. But this one has different layer settings, so it doesn't do that. The layer settings are important. Okay, now that I have all these print books set, I'm gonna save my file because I've not saved it like ever. Okay, and then I'm going to do file print. So when I do file print, I'm wondering if I messed up the scale on this, because this looks different. Let's double check the scale on this. I might not have locked it. Yeah, I never locked it when I did it. So I'm gonna go back to edit. I'm gonna say 1.5 inches. My layout is 1 foot in my model. Oh, I think I actually had it at 3. So edit 3 inches in my model. And my layout is 1 inch in my model. Okay, and then I need to hit locked. Okay, that's why that happened. So make sure you lock your views, otherwise bad things happen. Okay, now I can move this down. So I'm using my Revit commands instead of my Rhino commands, my bad. Okay, so now that I have all this, I'm going to, that's my other question that I actually don't know. If I turn off my guidelines layer, okay, so if I have, yeah, saw something about that. I don't love these lines, so I'm hoping that that's something that I can get to go away in my print settings. We'll see. So I'm going to save again. Then I'm going to do File, Print. When I print, I want to make sure that I have Adobe PDF set, whatever size paper my layout is. Make sure this is all the same as whatever settings you have in your layout thing. I want vector output, black and white if you want it in black and white, unless you want color drawings. Coming down, view and output scale. I could also do, I guess they don't have grayscale, too bad. Okay, so I want layout selected here, and then I'm selecting which one. So I'm selecting page 1, my layout view, and then 1:1. This is important. Make sure it's at 1:1 scale because it already did all the scaling in the layout mode. You don't need to scale it here. Okay, so let's just check margins and positions. That's all fine. Line types and line widths. You want to make sure that you're scaling by 1. The default it's doing is a hairline, but we already set our defaults to what we wanted them to be. Oh, I forgot to put in type. We can do that in a second. Visibility. So I don't want to show clipping planes, so good, that's off. And notice it's not showing those boxes, so that's good, that's already off. Okay, so I'm gonna hit print. Somewhere you can find it, save. Okay, so now if I go to, what's it still thinking? That's weird, I don't know why it's taking so long to think. Okay, there it is. So now I have this drawing and you'll notice that it has my line weights already in here. This is a PDF, so I can open this with Illustrator. When I open with Illustrator, you're gonna notice this is really weird. So it's like, it's easier to edit in Illustrator if it doesn't save the layers is the other problem with the PDF. So like just to show you, if I were to open this in Illustrator, open. House 3, open. You notice that like all these lines I can select, and if I wanted to change them all at once, it's not too hard for me to select this and say select same stroke weight, and that'll select everything on my heavy line layer. I can call this heavy, like I can remake my layers as long as they're all distinct from each other in some way. Right, so those are all my heavy lines I just changed over. And I could go through and do my fills on here and everything. Obviously, the thing that's weird is like the images come out as these like little, I don't know, things, little pieces of images, like it grids them, which I think is super weird. But that's something that that's what it does. And I think it doesn't keep those as lines either, I don't think. Like where the line is there, it's just like it's a dark raster line. It's not like a real person line, not a vector line. But I could still use this and then do the usual things I do because these are all lines where I can change those. I can make them dotted. I can add in fills, all of that. The only tricky thing is that your layers are all condensed if you do it this way versus if you import things straight from Make2D and start making edits in here. Okay, the last thing I forgot to show you that I will show you very quickly in layouts is I can also add in dimensions. I can add a new layer, call this dims. I'll make it red just so you can see it. And when I do dimensions, and I think it's Linden, dim. So I think if I just do dim, it'll work. So let's say I want to get the width here. I want to change my annotation style should be template, footage, architectural. It'll let you select any other one, but I'm gonna hit OK. And I can click here, and I know that's 25 feet. So that's like a pretty easy way to add dimensions. You'll notice even if I do it on this one, it'll come out the right size, which is really nice that it comes out the right size, but it doesn't like mess that up. Also, I think because I'm doing them on layout view, if I now go into my regular top view, those aren't showing here. Those only exist on the sheet, which is good. That's what I want. I can also add in, let's say I wanted to add in room titles. I can do text. So this is under my drafting toolbar. This is edit text. Can I make text? So I double click on here. I might have to actually do that in this view. Let's see. So can I type in text? Okay, template, put in, so let's say this is plan. Hit okay. So I can stick that in. I actually think I want that a little bit bigger. Can I just scale it here? I think I actually need to go through and change the scale of it. So I can go to text, and I could change this here, make it bigger. I guess my question is that, and I can label things. So I can do copy. I could change this to be kitchen. And if I bring this down, I'm wondering if it's going to bring down my other one. And it doesn't. Good news. Okay. So I can label things this way. And add whatever other notes you need before you print. Just make sure that they're going to be a legible size when you print out. So again, save. Okay, so that's basics about layouts. It's particularly useful in that you can continue to change things in Rhino without like export. If you want to like do a test print, you can kind of see everything quickly before you export to Illustrator rather than like having to export multiple times. But the bad thing again is that, and the other good thing is that it takes care of the scaling for you so that you're not sitting there trying to multiply out the scale in your head. Bad thing is that it does not save your layers to Illustrator.